I'm going to call to order a special joint regular meeting of the City Council, the Successor Agency and Housing Authority for Tuesday, June the 24th. We'll be having a closed session at 5:30. Roll call.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Council Agency Authority Member Barrios. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Taylor. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Warren. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairman Torres. Here. And Mayor Chairman Shaver.
Here.
Thank you.
Is there any request from the public to speak on our closed session item?
Mr. Mayor, we have none.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
Hearing none, seeing none, sir.
Guy might be hiding around the corner. Okay, would you please tell us we'll be going into closed session? This is item 4A.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There are 5 items on closed session tonight. The first is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, 1 case. The second is public employee performance evaluation. The title of the position is city manager. Conference with labor negotiators. The agency negotiator is the mayor. The unrepresented employee is the city manager. There is yet another public employee performance evaluation. The title is city attorney. And finally, there is a liability claim pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.95. The claimants are Tina Pacific Residents Association and the named individuals. The agency claimed against is the city of Stanton. Thank you.
I'm adjourning to closed session.
City Council is adjourned into closed session at 5:32 p.m. and will reconvene at 6:30 p.m. for regular session. Thank you for your patience during the silence period.
I don't think it's the car door.
Coming back from our closed session, I'm going to call to order the Stanton City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority joint meeting at 6:30. Roll call, please.
Agency Authority Member Barrios. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Taylor.
Here.
Council Agency Authority Member Warren.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairman Torres. Here. And Mayor Chairman Shaver.
Here. If you all please join me in our pledge tonight. Okay, Hannah, it's your turn.
Okay, please place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No special presentations or awards tonight, so we'll move on to item number 9, which is our consent calendar. All items can be taken in a simultaneous motion with a recommended action. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address any of those items? Any more correspondence?
We have none.
All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to go 9A through 9K? Okay, hearing none, bring it back to council. Any questions?
No, I'll make a motion. Second.
In favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. All right, we have no public hearings tonight. We have no unfinished business. New business, this is 12A. Consideration of policy of developing and naming and renaming city-owned parks for public facilities.
Community Services Director Zenia Bobadilla will be giving our staff report this evening.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, can we report out a closed session before the presentation?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's nothing to report.
Okay. Who is reporting on 12A?
Bobadilla?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight I'll be presenting key information and questions to guide the development of a formal naming policy and renaming policy for the city-owned parks and facilities. This is a follow-up to Council's January 28th directive to bring back examples and criteria for discussion. The purpose of this policy is to ensure that naming decisions reflect Stanton's values, history, and identity. A structured approach helps preserve cultural and historical heritage, recognize significant civic contributions, and maintain transparency in future decisions. Municipalities across California and the U.S. have adopted naming policies for consistency and fairness. Staff reviewed sample policies from the cities of San Diego, San Jose, and Alameda. While the details differ, they share similar goals: preserving community heritage, honoring public service or cultural relevance, and promoting public engagement in naming discussions. Common naming criteria include historical significance, such as honoring a founding figure, geographic relevance, community impact, cultural identity, names reflecting Stanton's diverse history, and many cities also stipulate that individuals must be deceased for at least 3 to 5 years unless they are major contributors. The naming process typically follows 4 steps: a formal proposal submitted to a group by a group or individual, staff and a relevant commission, such as community services, to review, and public input may be gathered through surveys or meetings. Final approval rests with the City Council. This ensures public transparency and community involvement in meaningful naming decisions. Tonight, staff is seeking guidance in 6 key areas to develop a draft policy. First, naming criteria. Should we prioritize historical figures, geography, community impact, and cultural identity? Scope. Should this apply only to parks and buildings, or should we also include amenities like rooms, gardens, and sports fields? Eligibility. Should naming exclude current officials or any living individuals? Public engagement. What role should community surveys or commissions play? And renaming. Under what conditions should a name change be considered? These elements will serve as the foundation for the policy, and although we're not locking in any decisions tonight, we'll clarify the framework. Based on your discussion and input tonight, staff will draft a policy that incorporates the direction you provide. We'll return with a formal document at a future meeting for council consideration and potential adoption. This concludes the report, and I'm happy to take any questions or move forward with input on the requested items.
This was brought to our attention by Councilmember Warren, so Mr. Warren, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Director Bobadilla, for putting this together. Yeah, when it comes to these, this is one of those things that's come up quite a bit where we've discussed, should we name this park? Should we name that park? Is this park's name still relevant? Or who is this park even named after? Is something I've heard come up quite a bit. And then another thing that I was always rather concerned with was our naming consistency, where we have some parks that are full names, some parks that are short names. Premier Park is Premier Park. I don't know why, but it has that name. But just for the moment, I'll just say thank you for providing us this and giving us some options to look at. And I think it would behoove us to also give our commission an opportunity to review this.
Premier Park was named after Premier Estates. Premier Park was named after Premier Estates, a housing tract there.
Would the council like to go through item by item on the list and have discussion? Okay, let's do that.
Thank you. First, with naming criteria, are these elements that are listed, would we like to see those included, or are there other considerations? So if there is significance in a historical, geographic, cultural, or civic capacity.
And just as a reminder to the council, local government loves to not do brand-new work, so we did review many other policies from other cities. So the items that you see listed here appeared in at least one other city's policy. So there could be others that the council thinks of that were not included, but these do have a basis for being under consideration.
We have that, we still have the park under construction over there, right? You know, sometimes until a park reaches its fruition, you might not want to name it, you know what I'm trying to say? Because, as an example, we could call it Stamp Discovery Park because of the things that are going to be there to help in the education area. So until something is up and running, or at least looking at the plans, then we might want to decide, you know, how we want to identify it. Just a thought.
So we're just looking for direction to see if this is sufficient enough, these markers?
Exactly. So for example, for naming criteria, right now, kind of the 4 common elements we saw across other city policies was they would use they would use those criteria. And so if you like those, we can start that as a foundation, because ideally the feedback you provide tonight, staff will be able to come back with a policy that will be fleshed out, and then you can review that specifically. But this was just going to give us guidance on the provisions to include in the policy. So it'd be fine to start with these 4, and then as we define them in the policy, you may find, oh, that's not actually how I thought we were going to use it. Let's strike that when we see the actual policy, so.
And you know, we do have 2 parks that we don't own. One is Hollenbeck and the other is Stanton Park. And we don't know if we're going to have those in the future. So that's another consideration, I think. I beg your pardon?
Change the name.
Well, you know, Edison keeps increasing their fees on everything. And for affordability, we never know. But I decided to throw that out too.
We have so few parks that need to lose it in the development.
I think for the first one, those parameters are good enough. I think it encapsulates everything when it comes to what we should be focused on parks. So I think it's good enough for the
Okay.
first one.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So then you weren't taking in buildings in consideration? It would just be the whole overall?
Discuss that one on the next.
Oh, okay, so you're just doing one, okay.
Yeah. So now for 2, we can talk about parks and buildings only, or do we want to include rooms, gardens, or amenities? And some of those, the council could decide you want to tie those to some type of required community sponsorship or contribution amount to have naming rights, basically.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. So item 2, scope. It's determining what you want to apply this policy to. Parks and buildings are standard, but we could expand it to individual rooms, conference rooms you'll see sometimes, community gardens, benches sometimes you'll see, but those are usually tagged in with some type of sponsorship, some type of monetary contribution or donation to the city. So you could have a subcategory under your naming policy with naming rights. So at this contribution level, then you can consider having this type of amenity, building, room named after you or your family or a loved one.
Oh, I like that.
Do we have any buildings named after anybody right now?
Alcita Lewis,
Which building?
Illumination Building.
I guess that is ours, kind of.
To review the scope at this,
And a lot of our smaller parks are named after some of the past leadership of the city.
No, I understand the parks. I was just
Yeah.
specific about buildings.
Yeah, well, the one that we had over on Catella, yeah, that's Alcita Lewis Center. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'll also mention that the Boys and Girls Club is actually named after the Muth family because they played a significant part in the construction of that back in the day. I think there's some opportunity there regarding playing around with naming rights. I've had a chance to look around myself. I've seen some cities would do it, such as, hey, if you if you pay up to 10% of the project cost, it's a consideration or a specific dollar amount. I wouldn't want to miss an opportunity of somebody being able to contribute to the community. I generally like the criterias there. I don't think I particularly care too much for rooms, but we have one garden, so I see an opportunity there. But otherwise, I feel pretty good with that.
Okay.
Okay. And then eligibilities, should there be any exclusions? So some of the sample policies that we looked at exclude current officials that are serving or have kind of a time frame of when to name former elected officials.
I think we should definitely exclude any elected officials that are current from that list.
I'll clarify one thing you're trying to say there is any sitting elected official is obviously, I wouldn't want to be in a position where we're talking about sitting electeds. For instance, I know the city of Westminster had done that. Some of the sitting council members had things named after them. But I would generally be against that. And then similarly, if the previous slide where it talked about 3 to 5 years after they had passed away, I generally agree with that. But I do agree again with the clause that says that if we can find sufficient evidence that this person had a substantial impact with the city, that we as a council can make that determination. But then otherwise generally caution against it.
Let me ask, what about for former sitting? Former sitting, let's say, electeds?
That's why I brought it.
And current as well. So former and current, this would apply to?
Yeah, but there was the part in there where there was a cause that if council could make the determination, I don't know how that would work out, it was 3, 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, that council can make that exception.
What do you think, David? What do you think?
Well, we named Zuniga Park, which I think is cool, over off of Catella. And then we have Martha Weishaupt Park, which is there, a small park there. I think that's up to whoever the council is at the time.
I agree with that.
I think that's up to them.
So currently, we'll exclude current sitting elected officials. And do we want to include a clause to stipulate posthumously a certain amount of years after someone has passed, with the exception of council having final authority due to any major contribution?
5 years, maybe?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Just hope the job doesn't kill you.
And then next, for public input, do we want this process to go through our Community Services Commission for review? Do we want it to put out to community survey or community meetings to include in the policy?
I'll go ahead and speak on this one. My general concern is with anything that's been named in the last few years, and if you follow that trend, it tends to be something. As an example of Bodie McBodieface was an example of a boat being named, that it became a trend online that anytime there's a public poll for naming something, it would follow along those guidelines. I would be supportive of that, but let's not do it as an online poll, please.
I think a good blend, I know this council is very keen on community engagement, so I think we could generate ideas from a community survey, but they wouldn't be the final vote. But we could definitely survey them for those great starting ideas. And then with that, would you like it to go through the Community Services Commission for initial vetting and then a presentation of a filtered list to the council for final selection?
And I'll give you an example, actually. For OC Parks, this is what they do for park trails. is that they go out and they gather community input about different names for trails. They whittle it down with a subcommittee, and then they bring it to the commission, or in this case, council. So I agree with that.
I think that's a good process.
Okay, and then the next step would be if there's an existing facility that's already named and there's a willingness to rename it, is there conditions? Does it require strong public support? Is it based on just anybody initiating it and going through commission and council?
I think a collaboration between the two. This, again, it'll go through a community survey, and so they'll have a strong support from the public, but also the final say with the council, and that goes hand in hand with the community. And I just have a quick hypothetical question. So on number 3, where it says living persons, is that only current officials, or is that any living person?
We can be as specific as you'd like.
Because this is a hypothetical thing. If I were to hit the lottery, right, and become Stan's next millionaire, I'll be naming a park, and I'll put 100% pay in it and name it, and I would want it named after me. So I'd be excluded because I'm living?
I think that would fall under our naming rights, which you can pay to have naming rights versus this is something that doesn't require a community contribution. So when you win the jackpot, we will be looking for a naming rights application from you.
Community contribution doesn't have to be monetary. And the other thing, just in the back of your mind, this is a great guideline. 3 votes can name a park whatever they want. So no matter what happens, whoever happens to be sitting here at that time can do whatever. They can change the name, they can keep the name, or whatever. But these are good guidelines, and I support the idea of allowing strong public support and council approval.
Should there be like a process and a threshold to show if there was public approval or disapproval? Or any way to be able to get some sort of reading?
How do you quantify strong public support?
What you're going to get is about 7 or 8, 9, maybe 10 names. That's what we did when we named those parks for the Orange County, remember?
Yeah.
There's a certain criteria. It was interesting because the names we ended up with were the ones that we got the majority of the votes. So that was pretty simple.
So let's say, God forbid, something very divisive comes by, right? Where would we be sitting? If there's something very divisive that comes by for, let's say, renaming a park.
Policy?
Yeah, on the policy.
Well, as the mayor stated, this is just a policy, it's not law, so the council with a majority vote could direct staff however the majority decides. Now, I think policies are good because even though it's not law, it still lets future councils, current and future councils, understand what the intent was, and it also sets expectations for the community. So they understand, okay, it's not law, but this is what our council intended for it to be, and this is the process they intended to follow, and it helps them also hold the council accountable if they see them behaving in a way that doesn't seem to be following what the intent of the policy was. Now, as to your question about how do we determine what broad community support is, we may want to weave this into our community services strategic plan. So it's not an exercise we undertake every year, randomly changing all the park names and park signs, but maybe Xenia can do some research and determine what is a natural kind of lifespan of a park name, because I think you want it to have resonance with the community, the neighborhood at that time. So that might be something like 10, 15, 20 years, and we could propose a time period within which, once it's named, unless the council directs otherwise for a strong reason, it will utilize that name for whatever this defined time period is. And then at that time, and it might be maybe on the city's anniversaries, maybe that would be a meaningful time to undertake an exercise and say, hey, who have our recent contributors to the community been? How do we want to honor and recognize them? So we can do some research and figure out a way to structure that.
To ask you guys really quickly, if someone were to come in with a bunch of money to build a park, would you guys be okay with naming it after them? Me personally, I'm not sure if I would be okay with that, but I want to know where you guys sit.
You know what, I'd have to do some research on who it is. If it's, because there's a lot of controversial people out there, so, that's what I would do. I would say, let's research the person or the company.
Council discretion, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to make sure we do, and you see this happen in other cities, is that we just make sure that it's focused on Stanton. That we have enough history here. We're a small enough city that I don't think we're going to run out of criteria in the size of the city. I mean, when it comes to members being controversial or not, our first mayor, Mayor Zuniga, every year he was in office, there was an attempted recall on him. So that aspect of his history doesn't outweigh the fact that he was our first mayor, he is the first recognized Latino mayor in Orange County, that those aspects weighed greater than public dissent, of which he was eventually recalled. But, yeah. Okay.
This is the criteria needed to guide this. Are there any other elements or anything else that you'd like to consider or include, or happy to bring back a draft?
I'd like to make a motion that we get the input that was given tonight to our staff, and they come back with a draft of some policy points, maybe give some choices, and then we can have that at a future meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. We're now on 12B. Patricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're on item 12B, which is resolution number 2025-28 concerning, 1, adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and a mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the Norm Ross Sports Park Improvement Project pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. 2, approval of the joint use lease agreement between the City of Stanton and the Garden Grove Unified School District for the Norm Ross Sports Park Improvement Project. And 3, approval of the conceptual site plan for the Norm Ross Sports Park Improvement Project. Ms. Bobadilla?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are requesting your approval for key milestones related to the Norm Ross Sports Park. These actions include adopting the project's environmental determination, approving the joint use agreement with the Garden Grove Unified School District, and approving the final design. This project is made possible through a $7.6 million competitive statewide park grant awarded to Stanton in 2021 after extensive community engagement. The project design was shaped through multi-phase community engagement conducted from 2021 through 2024. This included surveys, stakeholder meetings, and ongoing presentations to the Community Services Commission, which played a key advisory role throughout the process. We held 2 targeted meetings with current community garden members to gather site-specific input. A survey was distributed in multiple languages between February and June of 2023, both online and through on-site signage. The final concept reflects the community's clear preferences regarding amenities and their placement within the site. Moving forward, updates will continue to be provided on the city's website and through the Community Services Commission. Successful delivery of this project has required close coordination with several partner agencies. These include Garden Grove Unified School District, Division of the State Architect, Orange County Fire Authority, OC Public Works and Flood Control, Southern California Edison, Golden State Water, and California Department of Parks and Recreation. City staff has worked closely with these agencies to assure alignment on technical design, public access, and regulatory compliance. Council approval is requested for the joint use agreement with the Garden Grove Unified School District. This agreement grants the city long-term site control, including an initial 30-year term with 2 optional 5-year extensions. Under this agreement, the city assumes full responsibility for development, operations, and maintenance of the park. This structure satisfies state grant requirements and ensures continued public access to the park. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Assistant City Engineer Elias Garcia, who will walk us through environmental and final park design.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here to present on the remaining slides. We've come a long way, by the way. I've been here for just over a couple of years, and thankfully we're at this point. So the environmental review, the project requires environmental compliance in accordance with state and CEQA guidelines, and part of the process is to perform an initial study, which we did, and it determined that a mitigated negative declaration is required for the project, M&D. The M&D report found that all impacts from this project can be mitigated to a level that is less than significant. And in compliance with CEQA guidelines, a public review period was held from May 3rd to June 3rd of this year. No public objections were received. A mitigation monitoring and reporting checklist, MMRP, was developed based on the M&D report. The MMRP lists the potential issue areas that will be mitigated, monitored, and reported. Staff is recommending action from City Council to adopt the M&D and the MMRP. Next slide. Here's a little bit of images and overview of the site. Here you see the site. The sports park is located just southeast of Stanton Park on the other side of that channel behind Carver Elementary. The final conceptual site plan, as Senia stated, was vetted and gone through a number of different hands to have opinions and on the matter. So this is what our architects, PBK, who are in the audience today, what they developed for us. And beginning on the northeast corner and clockwise is the park building. So, pardon me, Senia, thank you so much. If we start up on the top left corner, that gray area is the park building, and it's followed, if you're going clockwise, by a multi-purpose sports court, and then on the northeast corner, a dog park that will include 2 separated areas for small and large dogs. The large green area, of course, is the large green area is the Little League baseball field and a U12 soccer field. The pink shaded area is the playground, and the community garden will be located along the west perimeter of the park. It's that rectangular area that we see there. I did want to bring up a topic that it was more or less we went back and forth with decision making. Natural turf versus artificial turf. So in 2023, the state issued a Senate bill that specified drought-tolerant landscaping does not include the installation of synthetic grass or artificial turf. California was going green, right? It still kind of is. But the reason for that was because there were concerns about artificial and synthetic turf regarding health risks created by the chemicals present in those types of lawns. Now, I believe they haven't finalized the number of studies, right, that the state is performing currently. So the decision was made to step back from artificial turf and synthetic turf and proceed with the project with natural turf. And then the following slides, we're just going to show you a bit of an overview, high level, from the 4 corners of the park. Here we have the northwest corner, where you will also notice that there is a connecting bridge that crosses the storm channel. That is a new bridge, and it goes right into a beautiful building there. The following slide is the northeast corner, and this is where the dog park is at. If you look closely, you'll see a fence line right in the middle. That separates the large versus the small dog areas. The next slide will show the southeast corner. Very exciting, a lot of lawn. And the following slide will show the southwest corner, and this shows the back of the diamond of the Little League baseball field. Again, that field will be a multi-use. It's either going to be used on Saturday for soccer and Sunday for Little League, or vice versa, right? Only one sport can be played at the same time there. The next slide are the next steps, and thank you, Sonia. The next steps for this project are to approve the conceptual and environmental documents, which staff has been diligently working on, and also to approve the land lease agreement, which again, staff has been diligently working on. This action will allow our team to finalize project PS&E, plans, specs, and estimates ultimately and prepare the construction bid package, advertise and award the construction, all by this fall of 2025. Groundbreaking construction would then follow in this upcoming winter of 2025. And the construction for this project is anticipated to last about 1.5 years. We will see what the bidders, the bids that we get, but we anticipate about 1.5 years and completed in the summer of 2027. With that, the recommended action, again, I'll reiterate it. City Council adopt the mitigated negative declaration and mitigated monitoring and reporting program for the project pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. Adopt Resolution 2025-28. Adopt the joint use lease agreement. Authorize city manager to execute the joint use lease agreement and related document necessary for its implementation. And last but not least, approve the conceptual site plan for the project. With that, any questions?
Can you go back to the first slide? Okay, next slide. Next. Okay. Okay, on the contractual agreement, we're the one where it says what the city's responsibilities are. You have that slide? Okay.
Joint use agreement.
All right, let's go through these. Have we offered to purchase this land?
We have not gone through discussions. It was not an option when we first applied back in 2018. They were not willing to sell us the property.
Have we asked them since then?
No, but I don't think there's been a change in policy. It's the same staff we've been working with and the same superintendent.
It never hurts to ask, though. I mean, what are they going to do with it? It's our, I mean, it's basically, we're the ones who are developing it. It's like buying it from a development company. You know, also on the insurance aspect of it, if you take a look at that, it's their property, right? The school district has to have insurance on the property to
Yes.
cover anything that happens on their property.
Do,
I was going to ask HD, how much more insurance do we have to have? And what kind of an agreement do we have when they have their own insurance? Because if somebody gets sued, they're going to sue us and the school district. Just a thought.
I believe that because the city has control of the property, meanwhile, you know, the fee itself is owned by the city, or sorry, the school district, the city will have insurance on it. I'm sure that the insurance coverages have been reviewed by our insurer and found to be acceptable for this type of agreement. I'm positive that the school district also carries insurance as well, but given that the city has site control, that it's appropriate for the city to have insurance coverage for this property as well.
So will the insurance company that we, the state, the pooled insurance company should cover that then, right?
This will be added to our list that we have maintained through CJPIA.
Like bridges?
Yes, that are now added.
So
Yes.
really, it's not any more additional cost because they'll be within the city's auspices as we pay for it, right?
Part of our city program, yes.
Okay, and then we're assuming maintenance, water, lighting, electrical, all that, right?
Yes.
And what about the, what are you going to do with the garden?
so the current garden in its form during construction will be shut down, and then the new version is on this conceptual plan. And it'll be right here from near the entrance of the park, this entire section right here will be the new garden.
So what's going on the other city easement?
Will be part of this, the school property, part of the 4.3 acres.
Yes.
Will be gated, and the garden itself will be gated.
Oh, this has been a long road. Having served on the Community Services Commission for many years, I remember when Prop 68 first came up in 2018, before Stanton won in fourth round of funding, which was the fourth and last round of funding, and that was an extremely exciting opportunity for us to be able to take that money and invest it into Stanton. And having also participated in these public conversations that played out through this, I'm happy to see that some of the community input that was garnered during those workshops is also incorporated. Some things I remember I specifically asked for was having a bridge that would allow vehicles to be able to access the park from Stanton Park, as currently you would have to drive around the entire neighborhood to get to the backside of the park. And also the dog park was something that many residents had asked for. That was something I was asking for as a commissioner, because Stanton Park has been a pretty popular park for the Park Place apartments to walk their dogs, and now they actually have a place to go. So extremely happy to see that we've reached this point, and I want to thank staff incredibly much for their due diligence in negotiating the terms for this. In following up on the mayor's question about buying the land, is there any interest in a right for first refusal in case the school district ever decides to offload that property?
I will say, based on negotiations up to this point, to me, it's very clear that they don't want to sell at this point, but you bring up an interesting point about first right of refusal. We have literally been negotiating this use agreement, and if there's an opportunity to have that conversation offline as a separate agreement, I don't want to touch this. We've been working so hard and under a very tight timeline from the state, and I don't want to delay it anymore. So I would recommend council approve the actions as presented this evening, and we are happy to have separate supplementary conversations regarding either any interest in sales at a future date and at least offering us first right of refusal. So we can certainly look into it.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking that action. I don't want to touch this. I've watched this go through the gears for many years, and I do not want to put another piece of gum in those gears. Right. No, again, thank you to staff for the incredible work at getting this through. My only concern is that we've seen in the decades prior what happens with schools, and when a school district offloads them, they often don't become a public use, they become a private use, and I just want to make sure that in the future that we can maintain this for the future residents of the city of Stanton and for future headaches for the future city councils. So thank you.
Go ahead, Victor.
I just think it's a wonderful project. I think it's a long time coming, and it looks like it's on its way. 2027 seems far, but I'm sure it's going to be around the corner. So congratulations to staff, congratulations to everybody that's been involved on this project.
Gary?
It's just a long overdue project, and it's great that it's going forward.
I just want to say thank you to city staff. It's really important for me to see these parks and all these new things that are coming, and the biggest reason is because when I was growing up here in the city, I didn't have any parks around me. So being able to see, our children being able to have really nice parks really makes me happy. So thank you, city staff.
Zania, what's the rent?
Is that, sir?
What is the rent?
The rent? Oh, we're not paying for anything on the property to rent it.
There's no fee in the contract, just all the things.
We have to just take full control and maintain and develop the park, but no fee.
And have we had a chance to review the contract, the lease agreement?
We have.
Multiple times.
We have, and we've gone through our granting agency to make sure that we're in compliance, so that we can ensure the money comes in to build it.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we've had some downhill with some of the leases we've signed, so we want to make sure that's in good stead. Okay. Anything else?
Mayor and Council, I just want to point out that this property has been the subject of a long-time lease agreement for decades now.
Since the 80s.
80s. And so that document was very simple, just a few pages. And so, the city actually undertook a very vigorous look at the legal documents to make it more comprehensive. So both sides have looked at it.
Normalized sports facility. That's what it used to be called. Go ahead, John.
And one thing, this is going to involve the park in the future, but now that we've shifted to having term limits a few years back, one thing I definitely want to consider when we do plaques that we recognize contribution of former council members. To give an example right now, Mr. Taylor, our Councilmember Taylor is sitting up here today, but when this park is completed, he won't be sitting up here at that time, and his contribution won't be recognized. And so I just want to make sure that going forward, now that we're going to have more of a churn and burn of council, that we do recognize predecessors.
Isn't that plaque that we had at Stanton Central Park, it's not there anymore, right?
To my knowledge, it is, yes.
So, right?
The other side, not facing the parking lot, on the other side of the building. And it had the existing council members at the time.
Anything else? Okay, we're going to, recommended action is 1, 2, the adoption of the resolution, 3, approval of the lease, 4, authorizing the execution by the city manager, and approve the conceptual site plan. John, you want to make the motion?
Motion.
Mayor, if okay, I'll proceed with the roll call vote. We have a motion by Councilmember Warren, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Torres. Councilmember Warren? Aye. Councilmember Barrios? Yes. Councilmember Taylor? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Torres? And Mayor Shaver?
Yes.
Thank you. Item passes 5-0.
At this time, I'm going to open oral communications. At this time, if you have any items addressing the city, council, successor agency, Stanton Housing Authority, anything within our jurisdiction. Have we had any requests from the outside world?
We did get one written comment by a resident, Mr. Doug McKeno. It is provided before you on the dais as well as in the lobby for those who would like to view that item. It will not be read into the record, but will be included in the minute record, sir. Thank you.
And is there anyone from the audience that would like to address the council?
Hearing none, seeing none, sir.
Hearing, we have no written communication. Mayor, council, agency initiated business. Committee reports, announcements, authority announcements, council announcements, Okay, council agency authority initiated items for a future council meeting. Okay, I'd like to agendize support discussion for the 65th annual St. Polycarp Fiesta Parade that we've always been co-sponsored over the years. So I'd like to bring that up for support.
Mayor, we already have that in the queue. You don't need to go through this step. It'll be coming on the next
Oh, I
agenda.
thought you changed all the rules.
We brought that historically, so
Okay.
we have it
I guess
queued
if
up and
it's
ready to go.
historic, you're okay.
No, it's still coming before the council for approval.
Okay. All right, 15C, anything for a future study session? All right. City Attorney,
Thank you, Mayor. I have no items.
City Manager,
I have 2 items I want to highlight. We have our State of the City this Thursday evening, starting at 6 p.m. at Stanton Central Park. We'd love to see all our residents and businesses come out. We already have almost 200 RSVPs. So, again, it's going to be a great evening. We'll have all of our council members, our mayor, and our staff available for residents to meet and greet and ask questions of. And then second this evening, I'm so excited to introduce the council to our new finance director, Sharon Del Rosario. So Sharon is a very experienced and seasoned finance director, most recently working at the city of Signal Hill, and we're very grateful she's joined Team Stanton. And Sharon, if you want to say just a couple words.
Just want to really just say thank you very much. It's really giving me everyone. I really messed up. I just want to say thank you very much. Everyone's given me a very welcome so far, and I just am truly grateful for trusting me in the role as finance director for the city of Stanton. I look forward to working with everybody to ensure the city's finances are in good shape, and definitely supporting the city's council's goals and priorities. So I'm just really excited to be here and to serve the city of Stanton.
Signal Hill's loss is our gain. We'd like to give you your official Stanton pin, so John will give it to you. Welcome. Okay. We're gonna, Chief, you ready to introduce and give us an update on your new sergeant and what's going on?
Now, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I'll start off with a report before I get into the introduction of the new administrative sergeant. For the month of May, Stanton deputies responded to 1,960 calls for service, which is an average of 63 per day. They observed 672 violations of law and conducted over 450 patrol checks within the city. Deputies made 112 arrests, 184 citations were issued, 32 felony bookings, 61 misdemeanor bookings, 19 warrant bookings, and 8 DUI arrests. Our motor deputy issued 63 traffic citations in the month of May, and the following criminal activity was handled. We had no robberies, 6 violent assaults using various types of weapons, 3 arsons, 6 burglaries, 21 thefts, 24 trespassing citations were issued, and 10 stolen vehicles. Our response times in the month of May for priority 1s averaged 4 minutes and 57 seconds, priority 2s 18 minutes and 56 seconds, and priority 3 31 minutes. Stanton investigations, again, a busy month. 27 new cases were opened, 46 cases were closed, 4 were filed with the DA's office, and 2 subsequent arrests were made during those investigations. The special enforcement team had 42 probation parolee contacts, which resulted in 11 felony arrests, 7 misdemeanor arrests. They recovered 11 stolen vehicles, and had 6 contacts referred to investigations. That is the end of my report, but now I will introduce the new administrative sergeant, Sergeant Matt Anderson. Matt comes to us over a 20-year veteran with the Orange County Sheriff's Department and a wealth of experience in operations and in the investigative field. He most recently worked in our Internal Affairs Bureau, and so we're looking forward to a fresh start, and he's ready to go to work. So he's soaking in the city. He hasn't worked up in the North County part since his investigative experience when he worked for North General. But again, we've welcomed him at the station, and I'm sure you will all be pleased with the person that he is and the work that he's going to help us all do. Would you like to say a few words?
Mayor, council members, thank you for with the department for 23 years.
show us the
Welcome, and there's never a slow day in Stanton. We also have your pin, so you can now be an official Stantonite. That gets you out of jail and everything. You'll like it. Anyway, welcome on behalf of our council and our citizens. We're looking forward to a great working relationship with our public safety team, Mr. Wren, and we know that you have a great chief, so we're going to be in good shape. Thank you very much. Okay, I have one quick announcement. As we promised, I am just about finished compiling the complete resource list that was requested for the mobile home park community. It's going to be finished within the next couple of days, of which we'll send copies to each of you so that you can have it for your constituents. Also, some of the preliminary information I've already given out to some of the folks that had requested it, but it's only a partial list, so the complete list should be finished very shortly. That list is going to be sent in a mail to every mobile home park resident in Stanton, and it's going to be posted at the city site for reference, and also a couple of other locations. So I'll let you know when that's completed. It should be within the next few days. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Can we talk about this beautiful wall back here?
Council announcements, which we have passed.
You're late.
Done.
But we do appreciate your noticing.
Nothing better than a blank wall if you're an artist, right?
Fresh start.
Okay, anything else from staff? Anything else from council? Anything else? All right, be safe. Thank you.